I don't mind paying higher taxes if it helps other people. Then just donate your money. The fact of the matter is, there is a massive amount of people who actively decide to make food stamps a permanent part of their budget, even though they are completely able-bodied and completely able to work a full-time job. Ethiopia was never colonized, and it remains one of the poorest countries on the planet. Meanwhile, Singapore was colonized, and it is one of the richest countries on the planet. We are a nation of immigrants. This country was not built by immigrants. This country was built by settlers who came here and built this country from nothing.
For years, PragerU dominated the YouTube game with its quick and easy to understand videos about politics, pushing a specific political agenda. Those things focused on the Republican platform, why lowering taxes is good, why environmental protection is bad. Those videos pushed the Republican agenda and the right-wing agenda on YouTube. They fit into this perfect box, this perfect little ideological box that was the YouTube right. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Dennis Prager, and PragerU had all of these people on their show and pushed these specific policies. Whether it was taxes should always be low, capitalism in every scenario is always good, culture war issues such as abortion or paper straws. And in the more sinister side of things, you also had why colonialism was good, why the first people who came to America weren't immigrants. But over the past years, PragerU's model hasn't really been hitting the target audiences, the youth, the Gen Z. What they need is they need people on TikTok and Instagram Shorts to push out the same content. And there's a lot of these cookie cutter figures on Instagram, on YouTube Shorts, on TikTok, and they fall into the same exact box. You know, it's like every single one of them conveniently holds all of the same policy positions. And these people are one of the main reasons why Donald Trump actually won this election, because they pushed the exact type of propaganda that pushes you to support right-wing populists like Donald Trump. And one of these people is Grand Ole Evan. Now, Grand Ole Evan, he ticks all the boxes. You know, he thinks taxation is theft. He thinks people who get food stamps are all lazy. He thinks that paper straws are really dumb. I mean, it's like, can any of these people ever hold any positions that don't perfectly fit into their little box of the ideology that has been pushed for them by Prager University and Fox News and so on? I guess not. But what someone like Grand Ole Evan shows is that the future of the Republican Party is one, and it's really depressing to say, but it's one defined by white nationalism. Now, I could go through here and show you all of his reels and Instagram shorts and everything about taxation and, oh, if you want to increase taxes, why not just support and give your money to charity? I mean, of course I could go there and address this argument and try to debunk it and say, well, what about the fire department? If you want to support the fire department, why don't you just build your own? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus today on the more sinister side of people like Grand Ole Evan, which is just a little sprinkling. He never says it, of course. He never says it, but it's this little sprinkling of the salt, of the white nationalist salt. It's important to remember that almost every single argument that this guy makes, Grand Ole Evan, is based on straw men, okay? Immigration is because of empathy. We feel just sorry for the whole world, so we have to bring everyone in. Colonialism. Oh, just look at Europe, how rich it is. Look at Africa, how poor it is. It's the typical PragerU where you take a complex subject, okay? You take a complex subject like the effects of colonialism on modern day Africa, okay? You take this subject and you dumb it down and you say, oh, Singapore's rich, they were colonized. Ethiopia, oh, they're poor and they were never colonized. So how can you possibly blame colonialism?
If colonization is the reason why all these countries are undeveloped, then why is it that Singapore, a former British colony, is now one of the richest countries on the planet? I'm tired of this idea that America and Europe need to accept everybody in from all these undeveloped countries because apparently the reason why they're undeveloped is because of us. And the only reason why the Western world is so developed is because of colonization. Like, hello, have you ever heard of the Colosseum? Because that was built long before the Age of Exploration. Have you ever heard of Notre Dame? Same story. And also, the developed world simply cannot accept everybody from the undeveloped world because around 80% of the world's population lives in the undeveloped world. That's over 6 billion people. To put that into perspective, there are only around 350 million people in the United States. And when we have studies coming out of the EU showing that asylum seekers cost the...
Alright guys, I mean, to me, this is such a brain-dead argument. Now, first of all, it's a complex subject, but very importantly, comparing Singapore to other former European colonies is like comparing apples to oranges. It doesn't make sense. Singapore is a country that has none of its own natural resources. Singapore is sitting right on the Malacca Straits, an extremely important geographical choke point where China brings in like more than half of their global energy. Okay, so Singapore, you cannot compare Singapore to Ethiopia. You cannot compare Singapore to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. You cannot compare it to Kenya. You cannot compare it to other nations in Africa that are extremely resource rich. Singapore has no resources. You cannot compare a country like this to a massive nation like Nigeria that has over 100 million people, many different ethnic groups, two major different religions, Christianity and Islam. You just can't compare it. And you also cannot compare it because the lines in Africa, the nations that were created, hold multiple different ethnic groups. It's like if someone had gone to Europe, okay, and they had said, listen, I'm going to create a nation that has Polish people in it, that has Ukrainians in it, that has Germans in it, and has then Czechs in it. And I'm going to expect them to all get along and for them to all live happily ever after. Okay? We've seen how this works out in Europe. We've seen what happened with the Austrian-Hungary Empire. Now I want you to imagine that in many modern day African states, that is the situation that we find ourselves with. Nigeria has two major religions and many different ethnic groups. Take Iraq, for example, okay? You had the Sunnis, you had the Shias, and you have the Kurds. It's destined in many ways to fail. But of course, if we narrow it down to Singapore rich, Ethiopia poor, I mean, it's incredible. But I gotta give some people credit. They weren't buying it. I lost about 10 IQ points watching this video. Totally not surprised that you have no idea how logic and the scientific method work. And this guy goes on to list all the countries bombed and or invaded by the United States. Yeah, that's another thing too. I mean, in Africa, how many coups has the United States sponsored? In Iran, the United States sponsored the coup of the democratically elected government installing the Shah, which then led to the current Islamic Republic. Is this guy gonna say, oh, look at Singapore, look how rich? But it gets worse. So this type of content, exactly how PragerU defended the British Empire, which I made a video about a long time ago, granted, but very importantly, this is always a key step in the white nationalist rhetoric. First of all, you say colonialism, not that bad actually. Colonialism, we brought civilization to the barbarians. Now next step, a very important step in this further sprinkling is of course saying that the original Americans aren't immigrants, they're settlers.
We are a nation of immigrants. This country was not built by immigrants. This country was built by settlers who came here and built this country from nothing. There is a big difference between being a settler and being an immigrant who comes to a developed country to sign up for all sorts of...
Just notice how he says, built from nothing, okay? This is also a very integral part of the sprinkling, to say this area was nothing. The people here were basically dummies who lived in the dirt and did nothing, okay? And the white people, well, they came and we brought civilization to the savages. Just like the Europeans went to Africa, brought civilization to the savages. And now that the Europeans have left Africa, well, of course, the savages now rule the way. Okay, so it's a very integral part of this whole ideology to push that there was nothing here, it was just a bunch of hippies in the dirt who built nothing, and the strong, white, Christian, European males came and they built it from nothing. They weren't immigrants though.
Benefits. Well, what about the Ellis Island immigrants? Those immigrants were legal. Second of all, those immigrants were not getting all the welfare benefits that we give to immigrants today. The welfare state as we know it today did not exist. So the immigrants coming through Ellis...
Yeah, but they still built the country. I mean, this is another crazy thing to me, is that on one hand, someone like Ole Evan, they're gonna say, okay, America wasn't built by immigrants. America was built by the settlers from the Mayflower, okay? And on the other hand, he's gonna sit here and talk about Ellis Island and say they weren't illegal immigrants.
Ellis Island in the early 20th century only came here if they were confident that they could support themselves, that they could contribute. Whereas today, illegal immigrants on average cost our government around
How do you know that? People came from Poland. Well, Poland didn't exist, but they came from parts of Europe specifically to escape authoritarian governments where their life was shit and to get a better life. I mean, what is this? It's exactly the same reason that immigrants come to the United States today. They want to escape the violence, they want to escape authoritarian regimes, and in many cases, they come here wanting a better life, wanting to get a good job. But remember, the ones who come now, they're Latino, they're Hispanic, they're maybe from parts of the world that Ole Evan, he will never say it, he will never say it out loud, but parts of the world that Ole Evan doesn't really like.
$68,000 each over a lifetime. That is, they are on average taking out $68,000 more in benefits than they are paying in taxes. So I'm tired of all this mental gymnastics of trashing this country, yet at the same time advocating for more immigration here. If this country is so terrible, then why are you doing all sorts of mental gymnastics to justify endless immigration here?
And the end was simply strawmans. Now, it's very important to remember that of the sprinkling, there comes the saying colonialism was good. There comes the moment where you say that the original stock of America, this is the very important part, the WASPs, the original stock of America, and this has sort of shifted to including more than just WASPs. This now includes Irish, Polish, Italian, all sorts of Catholics, white people, very important, white people. So the ones who came here in 1920, 1890, oh, they're the good ones. They didn't come looking for a handout. They didn't come to, do any organized crime. They didn't do any trouble at all. There weren't Italian gangs, Irish gangs. I mean, who ever heard of that? Now, another critical part of the puzzle is to try to say that when America committed slavery, it wasn't that bad. Everybody did it. Wasn't that bad? Everyone did it. We got nothing to say sorry for. And it's another critical aspect where he can essentially say that the founding stock of America was perfect. We don't owe anything to black people in America because there was really no crime committed. This is just how things were at that time.
The Arab slave trade lasted about 1,200 years. That's about 3 times as long as the transatlantic slave trade lasted. And yet, we never hear about the Arab slave trade. Why is that? Even when you look at the transatlantic slave trade, the United States was not the top destination for slaves coming out of Africa. All of this is not to say that the US's involvement in slavery was okay. This is just to provide context because history requires context. And that context is so often missing from the narratives that we are told when it comes to the United States and its relationship to slavery.
And then using this now to justify essentially mass deportations of Hispanic Americans, where this guy, Ole Evan, is essentially going to go and say, oh, just because one person was wrongly deported because of a lack of due process, well, guys, that means that actually it's all okay. That's part of the plan. Some people are going to have to sacrifice themselves and get caught up in this net of zero due process mass deportations. And these people claim to love the Constitution.
Just because one person was deported who shouldn't have been deported doesn't mean that we should stop deporting people.
So in conclusion, it's really vital that we understand that the youth of this country, the Gen Zs, the younger people who watch Instagram Reels, who watch TikToks, where a lot of these guys are getting a massive views. I mean, his video saying we are not a country built by immigrants has almost 200,000 likes. So this is actually influencing people. This is making people change their mind. But it's this type of oversimplification and this just sprinkling of some little white nationalism into this right-wing populist message, and it's hitting hard with the younger voters, and it's clearly one of the main reasons why Donald Trump won in 2024. And all I can say is I hope that people see videos like mine where they can actually attempt and debunk some of these claims, where they can see that, oh, just because Singapore is richer than Ethiopia, that doesn't excuse the entire colonial system or mean that it was actually a good thing, and that these massive reductionist dumbing everything down to like one or the other, black or white, and then we're gonna take a straw man from the entire other side and we're gonna take our whole video and it's this video's job to debunk this straw man. Guys, it's a bit absurd. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new, hit that subscriber button. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and I will see you all in the next one.